Good evening, everyone. Very nice, thank you. Welcome to the Lodi Unified School District School Board meeting of September 19th. Thank you all for coming. We will do roll call. We have all 7 members present, and if you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, I appreciate it. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome our student representatives. Thank you for coming. We will hear from you a little bit later. All right, at this time we'll do report out from items in closed session. All righty. Joe Nava motioned, Daryl Hawkins seconded, and the board voted to accept settlement case number SE 2017-01 by the following vote: 7 ayes, 0 noes. Also in personnel matters, Daryl Tolkien motioned, George Neely seconded, and the board approved the appointment of Aaron Aiken as Lodi School Assistant Principal at Lodi High School, effective date to be determined by the following vote: ayes 6, noes 1. And that is it. Alrighty. Superintendent's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to share some good news with you. If we can get a picture, you'll recognize one of our principals here sitting down, Ron Williamson, standing up with his arm on Carlos Delafano. principal of Lawrence Elementary School. This is our Rotary meeting, the Lodi Tokay Rotary meeting. Carlos was honored at the meeting with the Paul Harris Fellowship Award. For those who know Rotary, you know that this award is the most prestigious award in Rotary. It is given to those who make a certain level of donation to the foundation which helps to fight polio. And Rotarians who give that level of funding for the foundation are awarded a Paul Harris Fellow. And in this case, Ron Williamson made the donation in Carlos's name in honor of what he has done for the children in the Lawrence Elementary School community. And that is quite an honor for Rotarian to do that for someone else. And here he is being pinned. Just so happened that the district president was there at that meeting to give him the pin and the honor, along with the Rotary president in the background there. So congratulations to Carlos. Also want to show you some pictures. Here's Warren's son showing off the McNair High football field. Great picture of Warren in action. This is a beautiful field. They had a great opening ceremony and dedication for their first game on the field. A couple other pictures there. We had a couple board members join us. Dr. Culkin and Mr. Freitas were there, along with former principal Jim Davis. It was a great celebration, and the field is absolutely fantastic. So thank the board for supporting that project. We have now a little video to show you, courtesy of Joey Travolta and company. This is to promote our film competition.
When I look at the world and what we have become, we text instead of talking. Wasn't talking fun. We always take the time to take care of number one. So many people suffering, the struggle's just begun. Together we can change the world. For every single boy and girl, take the time to listen when someone needs a hand. A simple act of kindness to help your fellow man. I'm sick of everyone breaking about what you do or about what you say. You couldn't make some money, take a stand for my dream. With my sisters and my brothers, we gotta understand. Share their kindness with each other. It will help us love and never help. Someone stand taller and taller and taller. Help someone stand taller and taller and taller. Get taller and taller and taller and taller. They say it takes a village to raise a child. We must work together, that's how we'll survive. Some people work 3 jobs, they go that extra mile. Always being thankful, it's great to be alive. Together we can change the world. For every single boy and girl, take the time to listen when someone needs a hand. A simple act of kindness to help your fellow man. Let's go away, my sisters and brothers, down how we stand, share the kindness with each other, and make the land spread around the world. A simple act of kindness to help your fellow man. A simple act of kindness will help your fellow man.
Those were students in the film camp. Those are Lodi Unified students who participated in the Camp Kindness recently. And this is to promote our effort not only to do simple acts of kindness, but to remind folks that we have a competition. We just are asking for a very short 30-second clip, video clip of your idea of an act of kindness. We have flyers out. We send them out to actually all the students and parents on where to send those in, and 5 will be selected, will be turned into a movie shown on Good Day Sacramento between November and December. So hopefully we'll have folks participate in that contest. It just takes 30 seconds of a video on your idea of an act of kindness that could be turned into a production. So I hope our students are doing that. I just want to let you know that Got Kids got shirts. So we have our first round of Got Kids shirts. They're very colorful. We have some bright colors and also black and white. The introductory price at the moment is $10, and when you buy one, you not only get one, but we give one to a child in need, the same type of shirt. So we have lots of colors and some sizes available at the moment, so hopefully folks will start buying the shirts and you'll be seeing them around town and on campuses. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Dr. Washer. Next item on the agenda is Measure U status report. Mr. Khan.
Thank you, President Heverly, Board of Education, and Dr. Washer. May I introduce Warren's son, he of fame and fortune on the Mayor football team.
We need an autographed copy of that.
Okay. Good evening, President Heverly, members of the board, and Dr. Washer. I just want to bring you the most updated Measure U activities. So we just had a second Measure U Citizen Oversight Committee meetings last week on Wednesday at the McNeil High School. We basically go over the Measure U activities and the projects, and we go over the budget with all the committee members. They will have lots of good questions and very compliment to the district staff on those quick start projects where we very openly and had a bid process. They were very impressed at how the public bidding allows saving the district lots of money. For the 2 painting job, originally we were budgeted and estimated about $1 million each for high schools, and actually the bid came back was only half of it. So basically we saved a lot of money on those public bidding. And so the committee member really complimented the district using this open bid process to saving project money, project costs. So as far as Measure U program, there's a lot of activities involved with the Measure U. Right now, basically we are preparing for all the needed necessity for project to kick off. So we're doing a lot of it as RFQ for acquisition for professional services, like for environmental testing lab, civil engineer. We just want to establish a pool of the services ready to go, just like what we established as for architectural firms. We want to establish a pool of services. When the project ready to go, we can distributing those services throughout the different companies. Program management plan, we have an attachment on tonight's report. It's between district staff and the vendor staff has established a Measure U program management manual. So this manual will be our guidance for throughout the Measure U program. It's a living document, and we will be bringing updates those manuals and guiding us on executing all the projects, including the program management. The program also we work on the program management information system, which is it's an online application that builds integrated with the district financial system, QSS, uploading all the financial data and the budgets to this information management system, allow us printing reports and to share with the public about projects and status reports. This information management system also will allow us integrating in the future for construction management, including construction documents, managing all the construction works. So it's a very complicated software system. The school district also updated with Office of Public School Construction for all eligible school sites. We just updated, actually increased a number of schools to be eligible for state fundings. I believe our old establishment was done 2006. So I think it was 16 schools was eligible for receiving state funding. With the current update, we will have more than 30 schools eligible receiving state funding for constructions and modernizations. We're also screening for the grant specialists, which will be providing consultant services for the district to receiving state funding and streamlining our projects to maximize the state funding. So those specialists will be, we're hoping we will hire them to coordinating from the beginning of a project development. So we're hoping that when we have a project design, we will be already knowing that those projects will be receiving higher amount of state fundings. As far as the project activities, we have just completed 4 quick start projects, 2 painting, very quick high school painting and near high school painting, and Joe Cerner roofing, and Westwood re-roofing projects. And those projects was have a very good result, although there's large change orders for Joe Cerner School. But this is as part of construction. We always encounter some unforeseen conditions, but we handle appropriately and all with the public contract codes and the regulations. And we have most of the projects in the design stage, which we call squatting section. It's a first stage of the designing process. We call it is programming. So we went back to every schools with the LPA firm. They're leading the team to visiting each school, make sure every school, their level 1 priorities are not left out. So we went back to talk to the principal and the staff and to make sure that their concerns are addressed during this process. And then we find a lot of interesting things by the school principals, and we were able to put it back to the programming. For example, a lot of the schools, elementary school was a new build. Their level 1 priority was not, will not be funded much because their school, a lot of it is a more secure, new equipment. And so we try to see what area we can compromise, give them some things they really wanted. For example, shade structure. There's a lot of elementary school. So that request was put back to the programming piece. So we will see if we have any fund balance, from Measure U to able to address those needs for those sites that do not have a large level 1 priority needs. And with the designing process, we are going to, in this moment, last week and this week, a lot of schools will be visiting by our engineers and architectural firm to look at the building specs and visiting all the infrastructure needs and assessments. And those will be done, next couple of weeks. And then we will be recalculating the cost estimate for each project by schools. Then we will have better ideas how those scope of the projects by sites. And we plan to bring back to the school board for next reporting section, probably early December. That's all. that's all I have. Thank you. If you have any questions.
Okay, members of the board, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Sun, for that great report. Appreciate that. For those of you who saw me working with my phone, I was not texting. There's no way in the world I can text that fast, okay? I was using it as a calculator, so that's the basis of my questions here. I saw in the bids that the company proposes a bid, and then to that bid, we automatically add 8%, correct? So what we see as a bid amount here on page 1 of the Measure U bond monthly report, when we see it come in under, and that 8%, as I read the bid, is for the district's discretion.
Yeah. That's correct. Usually, depends on the project size and the detailed complication of the project. Usually, we put an 8% contingency to address those unforeseen issues. So basically, those 8% is controlled by district and agree with the construction company. Say if we see some things that need to be, wasn't in the design, and if occurred, then we use this portion of the money to address it.
Right, okay, that makes sense. Westwood School there, it's interesting that amount is exactly 8% final cost is from the contract. So each one of those are lower, but they're higher than the company's actual bid, because of course, Joe Cerna was at 8% plus 39%. So it's actually 47% over cost on that.
Cerna, you talk us.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not going to go into Cerna because two reasons. One, there's a report later on. I'm really not concerned about it because we signed a contract, and when we sign a contract, we live up to that contract. So I'm not even going to talk about that. But I just want everyone to understand when it says final project cost, that's actually higher in most cases than what their bid was. Okay? The contract award is the bid plus 8%.
So the 8% basically included in the contract is a part of a contract.
Right.
And
For our discretion, for the district's
yes,
discretion.
yes,
That's what it says. Anyway.
The district owns that money.
Right.
However, if something requires being done, some unforeseen event causes an extra expenditure,
Right.
the contractor must get the district to agree to use that money.
Right.
Otherwise, it's the contractor that's bid the project.
Okay.
And it's their money that has to be.
Wait,
Well,
I lost you right there.
The 8% is owned by the district.
Right.
The contractor needs the district's permission to use that.
To use it, okay.
If the district does not grant permission, if we do not agree
Right.
that was an unforeseen event,
Right.
then the contractor must complete the project as bid. In other words, it
Got
comes
it.
at their cost. They miss
Okay.
whatever it was, and they have to expend their own money.
So going back to Cerna then, so we are looking at, instead of 39%, it was actually 47% or thereabouts.
So
As a change order, it was higher. I think in the report, what was indicated was perhaps the entire project should have been built or bid rather than as just
Right.
a
Okay.
simple, it should have been bid as an entire.
But we learn as we go along. I know you weren't involved in that one, actually.
but those change orders really occur often in the construction world, and
Right.
especially unforeseen projects like the re-roofing, And the Cerna is, I would say, it's a worst case scenario. Is with
I
asbestos.
certainly agree with you on that.
So, yeah, I'm not going to too much about, like I said, yeah, 8% is built into the contract award.
Got it. Thanks for explaining that. I appreciate that, both of you.
Mr. Freitas?
Mr. Sun, was it more fun getting Measure U passed or working on the proceeds of Measure U?
Absolutely, thank you.
Yes. Bonnie?
Mr. Sun, I had occasion today to drive by McNair. Wow,
that is a very attractive and so appropriate, the green in the way. It looks wonderful. And then I wondered if you could just briefly, isn't it a really big deal that we've gone from 16 schools eligible for state funding to 30? Would you just briefly explain to us and the whole audience why that's so significant?
Yeah, that definitely, you know, the significance is really the dollar amount we are going to eligible for you know, the more schools, but the significance is a lot of it due to the school age. You know, from 2006, that time established that data, to now it's over 10 years. And another significant impact to this eligibility changes was student populations, and a lot of it is due to, you know, most of it due to the school's age causing that change.
And it means we get a lot of extra money, if the state has money available.
Yes, I
was
want
gonna make a comment.
quote, say that we're gonna receive those money, but we're certainly eligible for it.
Eligible.
Yes.
Thank you.
I heard an if in there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my question. One of them was, thank goodness the California voters passed the statewide school construction bond for $9 billion. At this point, I think it's only $300 million that the governor's allowed to come out.
That's correct.
He's withholding it because he doesn't like the idea of that's how we fund schools, but that's all we've got. Is there any indication that that's going to kind of open up and that he's going to settle down and just let the money flow like the voters wanted?
You know,
Because and I don't want, you're not a mind reader, I get that, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of legislative kind of going back and forth, and all I'm asking is maybe the CSBA kind of, they've got lobbying and all that. And it is wonderful that the citizens trusted the schools with that money, you know, and our kids need it.
We met with several school consultants. Mr. Sun mentioned that we're actually considering grant consultants that will help us apply for that eligibility money. They seem fairly optimistic that he, in spite of all his bravado, he may release money. But then again, he's only got about a year left, so maybe the next person will be more or less frugal with
Yeah,
it.
sometimes people like to make a point before they do what's right. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, Mr. Null.
Yeah, thanks, Warren, for your thorough report. I'm glad you like the committee, the oversight committee we have. You have a lot of professionals in there, and I know some of them, and they're very helpful. And again, thanks for keeping us informed on how Measure U is evolving. Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
thank you.
Any questions or comments from the public? All right, another period. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, next up on the agenda, we have a public hearing this evening, and this is in regards to Benjamin Holt College Preparatory Academy renewal charter for the term of July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2023. Ms. Lampkin, any comments before public? Okay, very good. This is open to the public. I declare it open. Any questions, comments, concerns about this item? Okay, seeing none, the public hearing is closed. All right, now we have comments from the public. A 20-minute time period has been set aside for the public to address the board on items not listed on the agenda. Each public speaker shall limit his or her comments to 3 minutes. You are also welcome to distribute any materials to the board and/or staff. Due to the restrictions imposed by the California Brown Act regarding discussing topics that are not on the agenda, board members may not engage in dialogue about the issue. And I do have a few. The first one, and some of these, the first two that I have, there is some paperwork that was given to the board, but there's not enough, so it will be made available. I've got a last name of Fernandez.
Mercedes.
I'm sorry?
Yep, Mercedes.
Oh, thank you. Go ahead and state your name and,
My name is Mercedes Fernandez, and I'll be speaking on behalf of the student, Ornay Shine Brown, in regards to the formal complaint that we have in regards to Delta Sierra Middle School for the, can you hear me now?
oh, very good, very good, thank you.
Hi, my name is Mercedes Fernandez, and I'll be speaking in regards for the student, Ornay Shine Brown, who attends the middle school, which is Delta Sierra Middle School in Stockton, in regards to our formal complaint that we have with the principal and the vice principal. So I'm just gonna basically do an overview in regards to everything that's kind of went on in my 3 minutes. So first, let me just state that this is in regards to bullying and harassment that's been constantly occurring since the month of August, since school started, to the month now of September. So there was an incident that occurred in regards to bullying harassment. Not only did we have cyberbullying, as well as we were having bullying in person and physical at the school, written was the cyber. So basically what occurred was there was constant bullying. I did approach the vice principal, who I went to go speak to in regards to Ornay Shine Brown, and she stated that in regards to the student who the issue was being with, I let her know that there was cyberbullying as well as comments, threats being made at school. And she stated that the student was a student and that she would pop off if necessary. Then she went into talk in regards to the student's academics, which I felt had nothing to do in regards to this bullying and harassment. I feel like there's a no tolerance for bullying. I then made her aware that there was cyberbullying going on as well, and that I would like her to speak to the student as well to contact the parents and make them aware. So in regards to the bullying policy that we have, 513.1.3, no student of group of students shall through physical, written, or verbal or other means harass, sexually harass, threaten, cyberbullying, cause bullying injury to, or commit hate, violence against any other student or personal, and then as well as the cyberbullying. I'm sure you guys have the Lodi Unified School District policy and that you're aware of that. I then went in again, so it was 3 times that I came in to discuss the matter before there actually was a physical altercation. I did ask that they reach out to the parents. I did ask that they, get the matter together and go to the procedures again as the Lodi Unified School District, what those were based on, and to bring the students in. After so much of verbal bullying as well as cyberbullying, there was a fight that did occur. At that point, we were asked that all the students were brought in. They were not brought in. None of the procedures were taken steps, no phone calls, no letters, no mediation. I actually had to call the Unified School District, the officer, her name is Eric Gonzalez, to come out to mediate the situation because that's how bad that it got. The next that I have, and then once the fight occurred, the vice principal held one of the students down who was not involved in the fight, who was trying to break up the fight and allow the fight to continue to go on. At this point, it was about a video recording of about 26 minutes. The principal, Mr. Watson, then went to break up the fight, but he actually went to sit on Ornay Shine Brown to break up the fight, which he's like, I want to say he's about 6'3", 6'4". Then from there, we asked that the parents be brought in, that they be called, and that didn't, again, I had asked 3 times as I came in there and let them made them aware of the situation. Once the fight then occurred, I demanded that they did, and I then called the school district police, Eric Gonzalez, which then we did get things situated, and the parents were brought in at that time, but all the students that were involved in the situation were not brought in, so I feel that it was resolved, but all the students weren't aware of it, everybody else who played a role in it. Now going to the next map, I'm going into September, another incident occurred. Ornay Shine Brown, along with one of her fellow schoolmates that she's with, I guess there was a fight that occurred. They were actually in the counselor's office away from the fight, and another student said she was going to jump in the fight. She jumped in the fight in regards to them being in the fight, but they weren't in the fight. The student was advised of the rumor. Again, I had to actually bring the police involved in it because a group of girls, which the school was aware of, and they did call the student, Shine Ordinate Brown. They called her and another young lady out, and they discussed it. They never contacted any of us, any of the parents, in regards to that, to make us aware that there was an incident going to occur. And as I went to go pick her up that after school that day, there was a group of girls that were getting ready to jump them again. So I demanded that the principal do something in regards to this. He then said, "What can I do?" And basically refused to call the parents to do anything in regards to that. So I then called the police, asked them to come down to try to get the situation and the matter taken care of again. Now, the administration staff there is basically had made a sign saying, "I'm sorry, I'm pregnant, so this is really intense for me," saying drama mamas where the kids feel as if they can't go to the administration to ask for help when things are occurring, because now the administration is making it as if it's a joke that these kids' situations are happening, and they are refusing to handle different things in different matters. I'm gonna go ahead and let her take over and speak.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Maureen Martin. I'm working along with Mercedes because the other student is my granddaughter, Janique Netherly. I don't want to go through every single thing that she went through, but as she's talking and when she's saying the other student is basically my granddaughter, Janique Netherly. You have a copy of the formal complaint that I placed in. As for me, when I came down to drop off the complaint, the secretary comes down. She has a talk with me for about 40 minutes. I give her the copies, she take them back upstairs. About 3 days later, I get a call from her and she advised to me that the superintendent was going to have a talk with the principal and the vice principal. I had a concern about that because I wanted to be in the meeting to actually hear what was going on, because I feel from whatever the superintendent may say to Mr. Watson, I'm not for sure if he's getting the information through to understand what we as parents, grandparents, aunties is trying to keep our kids safe. She was told that it's confidential. I sort of felt that that's not good enough answer for me. So I decided to come here to the school board to see if something else can be done, because I still never received a phone call back from superintendent or anything with a letter of showing some type of resolvement that he was even spoken to. And the kids still go to school there every single day. And as she said about the sign being held up, that was from my granddaughter, Janique. She had got her Gatorade bottle taken at PE. I guess the PE teacher didn't want to deal with the gentleman, wouldn't return it, so she sent her to the office. She come into the office and she speaks to the secretary to explain that the gentleman wouldn't give her back the Gatorade bottle. And she told me the second secretary that sits behind the desk waved up a sign waving your drama mama and incident that I felt was totally inappropriate. I feel like they feel that we have come into their office and shook it up, but it's only because they are not taking care of their business. I come from the Bay Area. It's totally different from things that go on there from what we're seeing here, and I think that's what is making it shake up, because we coming into this office, if not just about every day from the time the stuff was happening from August up until what's going on now. And we just finished an episode, which you will see at the very last page, that we had to literally go and talk to the parents because they still refuse to make any type of mediations. And we're looking at your Lodi policies that's stating that there are supposed to be some type of mediations where it shows the codes on the back where I made the copy for the discipline, for the peer mediation, and none of this has occurred. Now, we were also told that the counselors have been involved, but I felt that even if a counselor is talking to the kids, we're still not receiving no phone calls, so we're not knowing anything that's going on by the days until our children, grandkids or whatever, are getting fed up, where they're getting pushed in a corner. They have stayed home from school and all of those things. And I just feel that they're supposed to be there to go learn and have an education. Not saying that kids are not gonna have these stumbling blocks, but it's up to the principals, the staff of the school, to be able to keep things in order. Even by calling the police there, every time there's an incident, they told us to come to the school board. They told us to go to the, to put in our formal agreements. But to hear vice principals cussing, with the students along, as what Mercedes is saying, and I want to speak about the part where she mentioned about the vice principal grabbing around my granddaughter. She explained to me that during the process of the fight, it wasn't 26 minutes, it was 26 seconds. And you can see the video, and this is a video made from a student. The video that was made from the school does not have nearly any of this information that we still was not able to see today. To where the video is showing my granddaughter running to get ready to break up the fight, and then the vice principal come and grab her, and you can see the movement so quickly to where the girl at the time when she's holding, a student come up from out of nowhere, bam bam her face. I took a picture of it, gave her a little black eye. She didn't even know that the girl was coming to attack that had nothing to do with the fight. She was involved with what was going on with these other two girls from the harassing.
Can you try to wrap it up, please?
Okay, so as a whole, all I'm saying is that I'm coming in here trying to get some type of help for them to go down to Delta School and see what's going on as far as with the staff. I just feel like the kids are feeling intimidated to go into the office, to be able to be in the classroom or be at school like they're supposed to. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have the documents that you gave us, and we'll make sure that every board member gets a copy of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker is Desiree Wise.
Good evening, Dr. Washer and members of the board. My name is Desiree Wise. I currently serve as an admin secretary in our elementary education department and also represent our clerical group on our negotiations team. First, I wanted to thank Mr. Khan for his willingness to meet with a small group of people to discuss our health care. There's a lot of work to be done in that area, and I think we're moving in the right direction, so thank you. While you review our latest proposal tonight, we just wanted you to keep a few things in mind. Our team has tried to be creative at the table and come up with different ways to get our current healthcare costs down by using dollars that are already budgeted, and we've been shot down each and every time. Even with the requested additional monies that is in our proposal, asking to bring our cap up to $700, we don't anticipate or project it will cause hundreds of our members to jump on to our insurance. However, it will make the insurance more affordable for the ones that currently take the plans. Our negotiation team has been told that Lodi Unified purposely under budgets for post-employee retirement benefits because they know that there's going to be about $5 million left over from the allocation for classified healthcare. We've been told the board isn't interested in entering into an agreement that would spend all of the monies that are currently budgeted for our health and welfare. How could that be so? If every eligible member took the benefits, all of the budgeted dollars would be spent. If that were to happen, how would you cover the cost for the post-employment retirement benefits? The more the healthcare cost, the more members of our chapter drop the insurance because they can't afford it, which leaves more money for Lodi Unified to sweep to pay for the early retirement benefits. With that in mind, and that being pretty much set at the table, it really kind of leaves our members feeling like, does Lodi Unified really value us? We have employees who work at some of our sites that are able to pick up additional hours, maybe some library media assistance, an hour extra after school that is paid for through site funds. In the summertime, when that extra hour isn't available, we actually have employees who have to write a check to the district because they take the healthcare and their salary doesn't even cover the cost of their monthly premium. I, like many others, have to look outside the district's plans to ensure my own children. My husband and I both work for Lodi Unified, and we still cannot afford to add our kids to our plans because the monthly premiums are just outrageous. Our surrounding districts contribute $1,300 plus towards the cap for their employees. And we're paying that just to insure ourselves as an employee only. How is it that we always find ourselves asking the same question? How is it that other districts in our area are able to contribute that much towards an employee's healthcare plan? Currently, right now, if you're an employee only, you get about $550 a month, $567 maybe. A family gets a little bit more than that. Out of the 1,500 members, we probably have 500 that take healthcare because they can't afford it. Like I said, we've tried to be creative at the table. We've tried to look at the dollars that are currently budgeted. We wanted to create a pool of money. We've tried to do other things, and it seems that we're shot down at every avenue, and we are asking for help on our health care. Like I said, I myself, I can't afford to pay $1,400 a month to insure my kids. I'm not an administrator. I don't make over $100,000 a year. Trying to continue my education, I too have student loans. We can go on and on why we can't pay that kind of money for healthcare. So our negotiation team just really hopes that you keep that in mind tonight when you look at our proposal. That $546 towards our healthcare just isn't enough, and we are asking for your help. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Courtney Porter. You're right there.
Superintendent Washer and board members, President Heverly. I was here 2 weeks ago and talked about the coaching stipend situation in the spring. And I had to leave because it had been a long day, just like today for all of us. Teachers came up to me and said, go to the video online, take a look at YouTube. And I was touched by the kind words from the board. It really meant a lot. For 37 years, I've dedicated myself to the school district. It was nice to hear. So I appreciate that. A couple of things. Since my time meeting with you, expressing myself, my frustration, I've heard nothing from personnel. That's been over 2 weeks. And this is on top of your comments that you made into the public. So we have a public record of what you said. The personnel office, of course, hasn't contacted me. I failed to mention that Miss Ring, who was being set up by our boosters and so forth to become the aquatics director at Tokay because of the large pool, the many events we host and so forth. She also was not given a stipend for coaching frosh off. She has quit. Now her parents have donated over $20,000 to both Lodi and Tokay. Active members in WOW generously have given to programs that I put together, help with the scoreboard and so forth. Still would like to be participants, but their daughter doesn't want to have anything to do with Lodi Unified School District. And this is something that she wanted to do, coach and teach within our school district. She just felt that she was not treated fairly. And she's young, and understandable. Also, 3 of these board members here, I have coached your kids or family members. You know what I've done. You know what I do, the job that I do. You know that I wouldn't be here unless I was concerned. Last weekend I attended a water polo tournament. There were 64 teams there. Many people came up and see me because I've been out of it for a year. Because I've been involved for so long, I've become somewhat of a famous dinosaur. Anyway, these young people that come up to me, they want to be teacher coaches. 10 years ago, I'd say, come to Lodi Unified. What do I say now? Are you going to have the support of these young teacher coaches? I don't know. I only hope that you will do the right thing and follow up with personnel and make sure that what's been wronged is righted. And I would appreciate, and again, I want to thank you, especially Mrs. Oregon, for her kind words about her son, who was like an adopted son of mine. I took him to everything since 7th grade. He rode in the back of my car at all the tournaments you can think of. Her words were very, very important to me, very humbling and very thoughtful, just as yours were as well. But I'd like to see this issue get resolved. I don't want to go outside and try other avenues. I'd like to keep it in-house. I'm a loyal employee of the school district and proud to be a part of it. I want to continue that relationship. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it. Are there any other members of the public who'd like to address the board? Please step forward. People standing? Nope, it's not. Okay, very good, thank you, appreciate it. At this time, we are at the consent agenda A, which is routine business. Board members, are there any items you'd like to pull from the consent agenda before we proceed?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to ask a question about item A9.
A9. Okay, any others, board members? Public, are there any items on the consent agenda you'd like pulled for further discussion? All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the rest of the item A, routine agenda.
Second. All right. We have a motion and a second. You guys are quick. See, for approval of the rest of the consent agenda, student preferential vote, signify by saying aye.
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 Very good, thank you so much. Bring it back to the board to vote. And motion passes 7-0. Mr. Tonkin, Dr. Tonkin.
Just a question, Ms. Kadowski. The textbook cost for that class is $72.76. That's fine. The workbook is $42.95. Do you happen to know, is that workbook going to have to be replaced each year?
Can you remember what we discussed at Curriculum Council? Did we decide we were going to do that every year, or was it going to be replaced?
We were going to replace it, but use
It's gonna be replaced.
our funding, the CPA.
And it is going to be replaced, and their funding is through their career technical grant that they have at McNair for their health trainings.
Okay. With that, I move approval of item
Second.
A9.
Okay, motion and seconded to approve item A9, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Bring it back to the board for vote. And motion passes 7-0. Consent agenda B, student discipline cases.
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of item B1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Second.
And we have a second. Thank you. And students, you do not vote on student matters. So, to the board. Motion passes 7-0. Okay, and other action items, we have the unaudited actuals. Mr. Khan.
Thank you, President Heverly, members of the board, Dr. Washer. After, during my 5 years in the classroom as a high school English teacher, I've been awaiting an opportunity to use the word penultimate, which means second to last. And I'm just very, very sad that the opportunity arose on Ms. Fong's penultimate presentation of this board, in which she will present the unaudited actuals that she's dutifully prepared for 16 years for this organization.
Thank you.
Welcome. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Heverly and members of the board, I am kind of sad but excited. This was my last year closing the book, so the 16-17 books are closed, and we're here to seek approval for the unaudited actuals. Currently, the auditors are on site auditing the data, and they will both come back at a later date to present the results of the audits. Okay, so with that, we'll just go ahead and start the presentation. So you went over that one. So the general fund, we ended up with an ending fund balance of 45 million. Listed in there are the various components. Of course, in our ending fund balance, we have the required reserve of 3% of $9.3 million. Restricted ended up with almost $6 million. And we have set aside of the $45 million, $30 million for various reserves, which we'll go over on the next page. So of the $30 million that we ended up in the general fund, about over $5 million will be going back to the sites and program for, as carryovers or purchase order commitment. As always, we always set aside additional $2 million for instructional material, $2 million for unforeseen special education costs. We always want to protect the district, so we have $1 million for the grade span protection adjustment in case one of our K-3 classes go over the 24-to-1 and we need to add a new teacher or do some transportation costs for it. We also have, the district has set aside $3.6 million for anticipated increased costs in STIRS and PERS, and then we are, when we close the books, we have not settled with other groups, so we have $6 million for negotiating settlements, and then we have a separate reserve for economic uncertainty and our contingency that's up to $10 million. So with that, that's just a little pretty pie chart of the component ending fund balance in our general fund. So besides the general fund, we have other operating funds within the district, which includes the cafeteria fund, our charter school CERNA, adult education, child development, and we also have 2 self-insurance funds. The cafeteria fund ended up at $7 million, which was $2.5 million decrease from last year. We have workers' comp to self-insurance to pay for all the claims that we have outstanding should our employees get hurt on the job. And then we also have $20 million set aside for OPEB, which is to pay the health benefits of our retired employees. The last actuarial study that we did, we had an estimated liability of $100 million. Yes. And then of that $100 million, our current employees and our retired employees, we already owe them $56 million in liability. So that's what the balance is in our self-insurance for OPEB. And lastly is our listing of our construction fund. As you can see, we have that huge one that's popping up, our new fund, Measure U, Fund 23. That shows, ending balance of $78 million as we have sold the $80 million bond last May. Warren has been, Mr. Sun have been spending that money. We have those quick projects, so we have already $2 million already spent out as we close the books. And lastly is, we have to pay for those outstanding bonds that we have. The district owes $226 million in bonds. So we have one for our GO bonds, the general obligation bonds, and another one for our COPS or certificate of participation. So with that is a quick summary of what we have ended the year for 16-17. Thank you.
When is the final audit going to happen?
The auditors are in place. I would like to bring it to the board on the second meeting in November.
Okay, there's only one meeting in November.
Okay, so it's
Let's
gonna
do it the same.
yeah.
Let's do it.
It's gonna be in that meeting.
Next November.
Yeah, it's gonna be the meeting in November.
You got it. Very good. Questions, Mr. Neewesten, on the other operating funds and cafeteria balance, did you say that went down?
Yes, went down $2 million.
And why is that?
I think it's because of their, they're required by CDE to spend down their cash resources.
Okay.
And then, so we have a plan with CDE, and a lot of the expenses is also furnishing the new nutrition center.
Oh, okay, yeah, because we built it. Got it. That's all I've got.
I have just a little question. I really like this $45 million carryover. But I got from the county today, or yesterday I guess it was, that said we only have 42 million carryover.
Ooh.
And I'm not understanding where that 3 million was. I know we're right and they're not, but I want to get some
Was
assurance.
that the budget approval that you received?
That was the old.
All right, so that,
Now, this is 16, 17 estimated actuals that we just got from the county yesterday, I think it was.
okay, when were those calculated?
Okay, so Mr. Culkin, when we developed the budget, we were estimating the ending fund balance, and those numbers were projected back in May, so we were doing our estimate at that point. But since we have closed the books, we have the actual numbers now.
So you're telling me I was right, the county doesn't know what they're doing?
Well,
Thank you.
you see, when we were estimating the budget, we were more conservative.
Just say you're short.
Yes, yes.
Okay, Mr. Mallon.
Yes, Maria, are you leaving us?
Um,
Are you retiring?
Yes, I am retired.
Oh my gosh, thank you for the report. I want you to know that I read the 167 pages on this audit. And it was very interesting, and we're going to miss a professional. The time I've been on this board, you've always been so thorough and comprehensive reporting, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Castle?
I am so sad. And like always, you do an exemplary job, and you're also a model. You really are, and it's done so well. You're going to be with us for the remainder of the year?
Yes, I am. I am going to be here to finish the audit, will present to the board, and my official last day will be December 6th.
Thank you as always, Maria.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just want to, Mr. Khan, if you had been a track coach, you would have got to use the word penultimate a lot with coaching jumps, long jump, triple jump, all that stuff. You were in the wrong direction.
Any questions from the public? Okay, none appearing. Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, very good. This,
Okay, I just want to say real quick, I went to some classes this weekend put on by California School Board Association. We had a lot of other districts around there, and so many of them are feeling financial pain and financial trouble. They're cutting their budgets, they're running around, they're trying to negotiate with everybody to cut the cost. And I just want to tell you what a pleasure it is not to have to deal with that, and you're a big reason, a big part of that, that we don't have to do that. So thank you very much, I really appreciate it.
okay. This is an
Chairman?
action item, yes.
I move that we approved certification on actual report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Student preferential vote, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you so much. Board vote. Motion passes, excuse me, 7-0. Personnel matters, Mr. McKilligan.
Mr. President, routine personnel matters are presented for your consideration.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve personnel matters.
Second.
It's been motion and second. I know, it's just, I think about it at night. It's-
Too slow.
Yeah, very good. Okay, we have a motion on the floor, and students, you do not vote on personal matters. Thank you. And board members. Motion passes 7-0. We are now at communications, and ta-da, we have our students first up. Who would like to go? Jasmine? Ladies first, go ahead.
Hello, Mr. President and members of the board. My name is Jasmine Villanueva, and I'm representing Tokyo High School. We had our back-to-school night, and it was very successful. Mr. Sandstrom, he gave a presentation in front of the entire school and all the parents who came. It was a new thing, but it was a very good thing. And we also beat Chavez at our football game last Friday. It was a very good game. I think we won by like about 30 points. Volleyball went 2-1 last week, and the band is getting ready for their season. We had a junior versus senior kickball game that student government put on. It was free of charge to everybody to come, and it was very fun. The juniors won. And Fridays, we're now putting on music during lunchtime. It really gets all the students to come together and just dance and sing, and everybody really, really enjoys it. And this week is actually our homecoming week, so we're putting it on every day this week during lunchtimes, and both our early and our late lunches. And with our homecomings on Friday, we're gonna have a homecoming parade where our entire court will be presented, and any clubs and sports who want to join the parade, they are welcome to join it. And right after the parade, we're gonna have a rally presenting the court and getting everybody ready for the game that night. And we are also having our Spirit Week this week. We also have been having Rick's Pizza fundraisers for both our basketball teams and our student government, and those have both been very good fundraisers for us. Our comedy sports team has been starting their season, and I think that they had their second presentation last Friday. Our Law and Order class celebrated Constitution Day with games, quizzes, posters, and activities, and the Advancing Women's Leadership Forum acts happened at UOP last week. Our student government class is also planning a movie night right before Halloween to get everybody together free of charge also, and it will be out next to our softball field, and everybody will come with their blankets and their pillows. And we are also planning a blood drive on November 7th, and we are having our senior sunrise tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. So everyone's going to come out onto the football fields, and we are providing donuts and water for all of our seniors, and they will bring like the blankets and pillows, and it's just a chance for all the seniors just to gather. And that is all.
We're all seniors.
Senior citizens don't.
Yeah. Oh, boy, are we ever. Thank you so much. Marciano?
Good evening, President, members of the board, and Dr. Washer. My name is Marciano Lua, and I'm the co-ASP president of Ronald Lee McNair High School. First off, I would like to say that our first home football game on our new football field was very successful. We won. Yay us. We went against Atwater. We won 36-35. Our first home volleyball game against Scald was also very successful. We won 3 sets, 3-0. Our boys JV and girls varsity track team went to a league meet, and they both placed, I want to say, first place. Girls golf is 3-0 within their league also. Currently, we are discussing, in student government, we're discussing homecoming, and we've decided a theme, and our homecoming isn't until later in October, the first week we get back from break. I know schools are having homecoming sooner rather than later, but we decided to do later for better planning. So far, we have concluded on a horror spin for our homecoming theme because it is in October, the month of Halloween, you know, just to get people spirited and riled up for Halloween. And this Friday, after school at 3 o'clock, we'll be having a food truck Friday for our students. We'll have pretty much, I hope a lot of students go because people are really excited about having food trucks. You know, it's different than having school lunch or just going straight home right after school. We like to give our students an opportunity to hang out and socialize with each other and, you know, get in that McNair pride spirit. Our very own new and improved student section has recently launched at our first home football game. We're calling ourselves Talon Territory, you know, Talon. Eagles. There was, again, a ribbon cutting ceremony at our first football game, and I thought that was also very successful. Me and my co-ASP president, who can't be here at the moment, held one side of the ribbon along with a parent from the Booster Club, while members of the board and other people cut the ribbon. We got to keep a piece, which was very sentimental. Lean Crew had their very first tailgate that same day. It was very successful. The freshmen loved it. They came out, had otter pops, played games. They were really excited that freshmen are being included in things like home football games and not just overlooked. They like the spirit that goes towards them as freshmen, and they love the welcoming. Lean Crew is also planning their annual haunted house. It's I want to say one of their biggest events that they have, that they host yearly. I don't know if they have a set date yet, but it's It's going to be great because they have a lot of stuff that they have planned for us. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but hopefully maybe one of you guys could come out and watch. I'd just like to give certain recognition to Andrew Ham for scoring the winning touchdown at our home football game. And a math teacher at our school, Mrs. Montoya, she has started an initiative after school on Fridays where students can come in for free and paint rocks and give them to sickly children, such as children with leukemia or cancer patients, just to brighten up their day and hopefully make them see the bright side of life. Some upcoming events that we have are, like I said, haunted house, homecoming, and a part of homecoming we have our whole spirit week. We have a homecoming dance that same day and a homecoming rally. We have our food truck Friday, and Eagles for Christ is hosting a campus cleanup at our school. They're welcoming all students around the school. You don't have to be part of the club to attend, and they'll get community service hours. And that concludes my report.
Great, thank you so much. Both of you did a very nice job. We love hearing about what's going on at the schools, and thank you for your input. Appreciate it. Alrighty, comments from employee group representatives.
Really?
Yeah.
You get to wait, see, none? Is that what you said?
You gotta be quick.
It's been a long week. Quickness isn't in my step. Good evening, President Heberly, members of the board, Dr. Washer. Our word right now is communication. We want to recognize and thank Dr. Washer and Lisa Katowski for the live YouTube video. I don't know how, live YouTube video event. We hope that there are more, and we hope that the comments that we've outlined can be responsive to the time frame. Many of our members were still teaching when it was going on or supervising students outside their school campus. They have emailed and phoned in that they were unable to watch and ask their questions. We have posted it for them to catch up on what was posted, and they appreciate the ability to watch that at a later time. You know, the time, we reported it was going to be an hour, it was cut off kind of at a half hour, and our secondary teachers were the ones really that were kind of shortchanged on being able to input their thoughts and ideas and questions. We get the tech glitches, which is a reminder to the district that that's exactly what every classroom teacher experiences all day long. And, you know, we started getting phone calls from teachers saying, well, Chrome's not working, and it's like, okay, what's the first thing we do? Call in and phone in a ticket. So we reminded them that the district can't be responsive to technology issues without making those tickets. We saw that about 50 people were watching, and we hope that, again, the parameters that we think might be more reaching a bigger body could be changed for another time. We hope that in communication that maybe we can go back to some sacred time again. The district is holding meetings on Monday, and in the past, we're not sure when it kind of dropped off, that Mondays were honored as association times. If it's that I need to provide a calendar so that we're not scheduling LEA meetings at the same time, for example, LCAP meetings are taking place. We had quite a few members last night who wanted to attend both and had to make a choice on who they were representing and how they could best give that. So if we could honor the time of Mondays so that we can support both educated membership within the association and also giving input to the district, we'd appreciate that.
We know that the days are set for LCAP this year, and 4 more additional meeting days are when executive board or rep council does meet. So we will look at this year changing our meeting date so that members don't have to make that choice. We would again ask when and where will the items from the surveys and meetings and the YouTube event be shared. Our members are anxious to see what other sites have said and responded to the survey, along with parents and students. Sort of an update, our members are in the process of filling out their applications for the RBET committee, and interviews will happen in October. We will keep you posted on the progress. We are concerned with the evaluation language that was changed in our contract this last year. What we've heard has not been positive. We understand that for this year's teachers that are being evaluated, they are skipping this year and then the next year, which they would not be evaluated. So it's a skip year. We understand that by in those on program improvement plans. Well, this is not the case. This is not what we have been hearing from members. Mind you, the ones I'm talking about are veteran admin who have observed members sometimes more than 2 times before, and they are still saying they need to evaluate everyone. Some of the results and comments that have come in from members, administrators have said, but I like observing you. You shouldn't feel scared. You shouldn't feel any stress being observed. Well, I heard from a parent last year that maybe I need to see you in your room. It's another opportunity to evaluate me, so I can find valuable information in case later I want to say yes to a 4-year cycle. This communication and direction seems lost to our administrators talking to our members. Now, we understand members have to start the conversation about asking for a skip, but I have to tell you what they're being told as to why they can't skip. The reasons are what I heard, and some that are not worth saying again. I had a walk-in appointment today, and it is the side that gets to decide, was the comment. Our members who are engaging in this conversation do not really have a say in this. No matter what they have presented as to why they should skip, it's an automatic no in most cases. We have heard of 2 schools that have allowed members to skip. So, our question is, maybe the messages got lost, maybe the communication has been unclear, but I can tell you, the teachers see this as one-sided. They do not feel that the intention of the change the contract language is being followed, and they want to know why. So, I'm bringing that information to you, and maybe there's some communication that we can work out and straighten out, but it seems to be overall, and we understand new administrators, we understand new administrators to a site. We have pointed out to those that are veteran administrators, you have their personnel file if you have any questions. The whole point of the skip was to give them more time to work with those now 65 interns we have working in our district. How are we going to keep them in the classroom? So I leave you tonight with that thought. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other representatives from the play groups. All right? Double check. Okay. Board members, anyone like to offer comments? Yes.
Shouldn't take me long, 30, 40 minutes.
No problem.
Come on, man.
Just kidding. Here, real quickly, first of all, I did watch your YouTube event, the Lodi Connection, I think that's what it's called.
Yep.
Outstanding. You guys did great. I think I saw your little glitches up there with technology, not your fault, okay? And I thought you handled at the beginning the silence very well. What are the questions? Okay, since there's no questions, Lisa, why don't you talk? That went great. I'm really happy that you guys did that. You're making a real concerted effort to do this. And I think Michelle's comments were well spoken there of what we need to maybe take care of. But you guys are off and running, I'm telling you. Real quickly, I went to Masters in Governance this past weekend on Friday and Saturday. Big deal we talked about were superintendent's evaluation. I got some ideas to bring back on that I want to talk to everybody about. The collective bargaining, boy, that was an interesting little time frame there. I'll talk to you guys about that in closed session since it is collective bargaining. Again, I want to say that there's a lot of people out there and some tough financial problems right now. And I was shocked how many there were. And they're in the midst of negotiating down. So that's kind of sad. One of the big things we talked about too was district direction and the impact that the board can have. And that how that high achieving districts have boards who spend the majority of their time talking about student achievement rather than facilities. It's really an interesting concept. And the one word that they hung out there and that they kept putting up was accountability. You've got to have accountability throughout the entire process. And of course, we only have one person to hold accountable. Since 7 of us can hold the superintendent accountable, my God, you've got a lot to hold accountable. Jeez. So we'll talk about that later. I'm going to ask that we maybe do a session on that sometime. And that's all I've got.
All righty.
That was good.
Yes. Mr. Freitas.
Mr. President, I said it once, I'll say it again, this Friday, Westwood Health Fair, 8:30 to 11. I see the superintendent has it on the calendar. I have it on my calendar. I look forward to seeing my colleagues there. Over 50 different booths providing services to the community. So Nurse Pam has invited me, Principal Sam has invited me. So it's a great event and we should give it all the support that we can. On a sadder note, our thoughts and prayers are with our colleagues at Lincoln School District who lost one of their high school students tragically on Friday in a traffic collision involving a drunk driver through no fault of his own. So to our colleagues, they have our support.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Ron, I stopped by, actually, I was playing golf at Swenson, and they had some sessions there, so I pulled my car in and joined one of the sessions. Quite touching, quite touching. I mean, I've had a football player that also got killed in an accident back in the 70s, and it's really trying for the team itself, and all the student body and that type of thing. But I want to acknowledge Stockton Record Male Athlete of the Week, Logan Stout, Lodi High School. Quarterback, he's a sophomore, 15-year-old young man starting on the varsity team. That's quite a feat for doing that. Again, I want to congratulate him for being Male Athlete of the Week. Got a double whammy on this, Female Athlete of the Week for Lodi Unified. Samaya Royale, Bear Creek Volleyball. She's an outside hitter, and she is an impact player at Bear Creek in volleyball. She is a transfer from an academy school, and first year there, is making a big impact. I want to congratulate those two male athletes. And I want to tell Jasmine that my granddaughter Zoe thinks you're cool.
Oh, yeah. She told me to tell you hi.
All right, thank you.
Oh, you bet. Yes, Ms. Castle.
I attended a Constitution Day celebration, which was wonderful at Ansel Adams Elementary School. And I want to give a shout out because it was the 6th grade students that put on the celebration, coached by a PE teacher, Scott Kennel. And it was wonderful. He had the 6th graders impersonating everyone from George Washington to Bernie Sanders. And the audience, of course, were all those many students. Ansel Adams has many students, as we know, and they were just loving every moment of it. So I see Michael and Jamie are in our audience, the Ansel Adams administrators. Thank you for inviting me. It was wonderful and so much fun. Thank you, and thanks for being here. And then I visited Claremont Elementary. I went to see Julie McDonald's special ed preschool class. She is, as the board learned, doing the inclusion model, which means that half of her class is preschool special ed children and the other half is preschool general education children. And it was very heartwarming to watch what's happening in her class. It was wonderful. And then I got to follow them out to their recess time, and they were joined by a special ed preschool class of autistic children. And you know, they're just these sweet little kids, and they all got along, and it was lovely. And I want to thank everyone that has gotten behind the board's direction to have this inclusion model happen much more often, and also to make sure that these little kids get to eat and play together. I watched that happen, and it was magnificent. It truly was. So thank you. I know a lot of people have had to pitch in and push and have that happen. And then I'm jumping the gun just a little bit because I don't want to do this at the very end when we're all ready to go home. So I just have something I want to put on a future agenda, and I'll just be brief about this. I would like to have, during the remainder of this school year, possibly a couple of study sessions where the Board of Education can have an open and honest dialogue with administrators. And Dr. Washer's staff does not have to do any prep work for this, any reports or anything. I truly want to sit, the 7 of us, and sit with administrators and listen to them. And I'd like to start with the Title I schools administrators. I have been visiting, well, for years. A lot of the schools that I visit are Title I. And we have, as a board, we have instigated a lot of intervention programs. We have mandated that they start the SAFE program. And when I was at Claremont yesterday, or no, it was this morning actually at Claremont, help me out, Annette Murray, thank you, the principal, said that she loves the SAFE program. Remember when Kathy brought the SAFE program to us? It was very radical. And it was bringing in outside professionals to work with our Title I schools. And they love it because these professionals are able to go to visit homes before school, after school, even in the evening, and it's working very well. So one of the things that I would like to hear from the Title I administrators is a very open and frank discussion. What's working? What's not working? What, you know, just to give us an understanding of what it's like to manage these many schools. And I would like, over the course of the year, to hear from the other administrators, non-Title I, middle school, secondary, and just have an opportunity for us to learn from them what is it like to manage our many schools. And thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members? Just one quick comment, and it's about coaching stipends, and I think that comments were made at the last board meeting by board members hoping for some resolution. Some ideas have come forward last week, so it does take time, but hopefully we can get some resolution and some compromise, but it's not forgotten. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. And anyone else? Okay, that's it for the board. Dr. Washer, do you have anything additional?
Mr. President, members of the board, I just want to touch base with you. We are looking at October 24th for a study session for special education. I've heard from some board members that that is a good date. So if you could check your calendars, and we'll give you a call just to confirm that everyone is available on October 24th.
Don't call me, I'm in.
You're in. All right. Thank you.
That's 3.
We have the following week. How about the following week?
Halloween.
Like the 31st?
On Halloween.
He's on the roll. He's on the roll.
He is
Go
on
to
the
the haunted house.
Got a regular county person over here today.
And Mr. President, if I may, I just want to acknowledge that we have McNair students out in the audience again. You know, wow, you got to give them credit for hanging in there.
McNair, raise your hand.
Lincoln.
You're Lincoln.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, you were sitting with Mr. Dawson, so I made the connection. We have Lincoln students here. Could you pass along the sentiments from our board members that they that they shared?
Yes.
I think that the board members would appreciate the sentiments that you could share with your fellow students at Lincoln. To our student reps, I just want to ask you to please talk up our film competition. We have a lot going on. Art contest and show coming up in April. Flyers will be going out soon, and it's almost time for poetry contest again. And to our McNair rep, I just have to say, the first time we did a poetry contest, the top winner was from McNair High School. So maybe we could get that back.
Challenge.
Thank you.
Okay, we're done with communications. Next up on the agenda are report items. And the first one is about the Benjamin Holt charter renewal. Student reps, these are report items. If you need to go, feel free to go. Thank you again for your comments.
Thank you.
You bet.
Nice. Drive carefully.
Drive safely, please.
Our student guests, if you need something signed, you can come up here.
Good evening, President Heberly and members of the board, Dr. Washer. I'm here to introduce to you tonight Aspire School Charter Schools Assistant Superintendent Lane Weiss, who is going to be presenting to you a petition that we received for renewal for Ben Holt Preparatory College Academy School. And so they're going to present to you a summary of the petition and give you an opportunity to ask questions.
Very good. You've got 3 minutes. Oh, no, that's not public comment. That's right. I knew I could say that to you. I'm not going to
Good evening, President Heberly, members of the board, and Dr. Watcher. It's our pleasure to be here. It's a historical night. We have the founding principal of Benjamin Holt, the past principal of Benjamin Holt, and the present principal of Benjamin Holt. So we've got Jeff Palmquist and Liz O'Dell, and they'd like to summarize for you what our charter petition's about. We're very pleased to be here, and we're very appreciative of the support of the Lodi Unified School District. Mr. Palmquist.
The trifecta is what we're saying.
Yes. Thank you, President Heberly, board members, Dr. Washer. It's always a pleasure to be before this board. It's been a couple of years since we were here talking about the Ben Holt Middle Project, and you know, it's a pleasure to talk about Ben Holt High School, which is ostensibly what this petition is for renewal. You have the presentation, and you know, I would imagine you've had a chance to review that. There are a couple of things that I think are worth pointing out that have occurred in the past year in the life of Aspire that I think helps to frame part of the direction we're going with this petition. And that really centers around a 5-year strategic plan that as an organization across all of our regions we endeavored on with the help of Bain and Associates and members, working groups from all of our regions in order to really refine and hone in where we want to head in the next 5 years. How are we going to increase the number of students who are ready to earn a college degree? And so that's been a big part of the organizational life of Aspire that has a very direct impact on the work that's happening not only at Ben Holt but all of our schools. There were 4 areas that we've really focused on in our instructional program This year, we're rolling out mathematics and social emotional learning as an organization, but those are things that we're focusing on in our region as well. Also, our post-secondary success. What does it actually mean to be ready for college? What are the metrics we're going to use to make sure that our students are on the right trajectory for that? Our talent strategy in recruiting and retaining teachers, and then also our growth strategy as well. As it relates, like I said, each one of these initiatives has a direct impact on all of our schools, including Ben Holt. But Ben Holt, within that, has also a few things that they have been lifting this year. In particular, you'll see evidence of that in the petition as areas of focus. And so I thought I would let Liz explain what those 3 or 4 things that they're lifting are, and then we'll yield. So with that, Ms. Adele.
I'll keep it really short. I think our focus this year will be definitely to increase our AP classes. We have sent our teachers to be trained with AP Computer Science, AP Psych, and AP Stats to go along with our AP Calc. That complements our early college program, so our students will have a choice and both pathways open to help them find greater success in college acceptance. Another thing would be, while we have all of our students accepted, we're working on a fit program so that they are not only accepted into school, but the school is a better fit and they will stay there and complete hopefully in 4 to 6 years, they'll finish their education. We're also going to work on increasing our ACT and SAT scores. This year we'll have a focus on that. And then one of my big focuses this year will be connecting our students and our families to our school. I want all students to be actively involved in school and feel a part of our school, and our families as well. We have a lot of family events planned for this year so that to reach out to our community.
And so the petition that you have before you and the presentation as well is really for that consideration to continue the vision and mission that started in this area a long time ago and is now up to continue to move really forward for the next 5 years. We've taken that on as an organization, as a region, and the school has set its sights and targets to provide that high-level quality education for each one of our students. And with that, Mr. Weiss, anything else to add?
No, just thank you very much. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you. Board members, go
I
ahead.
have one question on your demographics of people on your campus. The African American has decreased. Is there a reason for that? It goes from 6.6 in 2016, 2015-16 to 4.7 in 2016-17.
Yeah, not necessarily a specific reason. It's a fairly small number, so an N of 2 or 3 students can really sway that and change that. Also, too, as we split as a high school, that's sort of changed our demographics a little bit because it's allowed us to, when we had some kids go to the middle school, we had a few more 9th graders and from some of our other sites, and so that changed demographics a little bit. It's probably an N of just a couple of students, so the percentages look a little bit larger than the actual number of students would be the way I would best explain
I
it.
understand that. Jeff, what's your title?
So I'm the associate superintendent. I'm Lane's assistant.
Okay, all right, very good. I see. I saw that. You were principal there, and then I see.
Yeah, well, and it was, so I think the last time I was before this board, it was probably around November when we were, or December, doing charter petition for the middle school. Since that time, I'm in my 2nd year in this role as an associate superintendent.
And I have another question on this. How is that going? You got K through 12 now, right, on one campus?
No, actually, we were 6-12 before, and with that, with the opening of Ben Holt Middle, we created a 6-8 school, and the petition here is for 9-12. So we've actually made a structure that's a little bit more similar to what you have in the district.
Right, okay, understand. And the reason I say that, I have some grandchildren that go to school.
Yes, go ahead.
Jeff, I want you to know that I've never forgiven you for leaving us.
I'm so sorry.
So you're saying no then, right?
evening.
No, I remember us working together on that, the high school project that just never quite got there. We were done in by the economy.
I can imagine Mr. Sun's picture in front of the Green Tech Academy. It would have been.
It would have been great. Hey, just one quick question. Does any student that applies to Ben Holt Academy get in?
Yes, and if there are too many who want to, they go on to a waiting list.
Okay.
So.
And so what is your priority for 9th grade?
So 9th grade, we could pull up the petition, but,
I mean, just off the top of your head, I'm not really.
Employees, children, siblings, members who, of the middle school who want to continue their education and aspire. So
that's going to be a lot.
That'd be our 8th grade students who come to 9th grade. In general, we usually keep around 75 to 80% of our 8th graders. People make choices in high school, they want to maybe play football or do some things that we don't necessarily offer. But in general, we keep most of them. But then, from there, I think there's some location preferences. You might remember we discussed when we were here before about people in the attendance area, but in general, then it's really open to the public. Anybody can apply. Anybody in the state of California can apply to be in the school.
So what do you think about a percentage of, first of all, how big is your freshman class? What's your target?
128 is our target.
Your target, okay. And of that 128, how many do you think are filled from people outside of the categories that Jeff mentioned?
Yeah, so
they're actually up for lottery, I guess I should say.
I took on over 30 new freshmen that are new to Aspire this year.
Okay, so and then the other 98
came from either our 6-8 school or our other Aspire schools.
Okay, so then
transfers.
those 30 it's a true lottery and open to everybody. Okay, great. Well, you guys are doing a fantastic job. I appreciate everything that you guys do for the kids. I've worked with the charter before. I know it's a little bit interesting. You got to come up with some innovative solutions, and it looks like you guys have. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yes, Scott.
I enjoy watching the Aspire organization, what's happening nationally. It's really so impressive. And I love how I always try to think that we have this history, which we certainly do right here in where we're at. But I wanted to ask you, what's your biggest challenge at Ben Holt? What challenges you the most there, would you say?
Well, yeah. I mean, there are a number of things that challenge us, just like they challenge any school. I would say at this point, the thing that we're adjusting to, as I know your schools and all schools around the state and really the country are adjusting to, is we have Common Core standards and new requirements in SBAC and LCAP and LCFF. Is making sure that we're providing the highest quality instructional program we can through selecting the best materials we can select, providing the best training for teachers. And what we learned is, that those standards, they came in like a rock, and they are different. A lot of times people think that they were a continuation of what was already there, and that's not true. So I would say we've done a fine job of that. I see evidence of that. I still support Ben Holt in the capacity in my role. I see great evidence of growth and progress, but that's still aligning our tasks to our standards to make sure that we're not only on grade level target, but really pushing the envelope to make sure all of our kids are successful. And I think that's the thing that is a challenge for all sites.
And yes.
There's another piece too. I'm lead superintendent for social emotional learning in our organization. So trying to keep kids balanced and have a well-rounded set of skills so they can be successful not only in college but in life as well. And a lot of challenges here in the 21st century with technology and other things. So trying to have our kids be not only academically successful, but compassionate and kind and contributing back to the community.
And of course, I'm so happy to hear that, absolutely. And again, just fantastic work that you do. And Jeff, congratulations on your promotion. And of course, I still think of you as the child so long ago.
Creekside Elementary or Auto Drive.
Yeah, exactly, but I think that's grand for you. Congratulations.
Yes.
Hey, Jeff, there's what looks like 384 students in attendance. Do you have plans for expansion and growth?
Yeah, the growth is what we laid out when we did the middle school charter, was over a series of years. As we expand the middle school, we'll grow our own up from underneath, if that makes sense. So we had 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students at 4 groups in the current configuration. We had a number of students within Aspire that wouldn't have spots, so that's one of the things that precipitated us opening up the middle school. So the high school will continue to expand as that expanded middle school supplies them with more students. So we're still a couple years away from that. Right now, that bubble of extra students we took on in the middle school is in 7th grade. When they get into 9th grade, that will bump up the numbers in high school, but it's really mostly growing from within. Are collecting the students in Aspire that didn't have placement. So yes, it will grow, but it will grow from the bottom up.
Do you have facilities for the, you have enough places, actual places to put kids?
Yeah, that was the impetus for the design and build of the middle school. By doing that, it provided both the opportunity to service the 6th, 8th students, but then it created space on the existing campus that was there to be high school only.
Okay.
So where the middle school vacated, that's now the space that when the middle schoolers come up, they'll be able to occupy in high school.
Well, I've known Jeff for quite a while, and the people call him Wonder Boy. Behind his back, we don't want to let him, but anything that Mr. Palmquist is involved with is going to be very successful. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Any questions or comments from the public? All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next report item, Mr. Khan. Sir, re-roofing project.
Thank you, President Heverly. As per request of individual board members, we have included a report on the CERNA project. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Yeah, the information is there, and if there are explanations needed or questions, please feel free. Board members, anyone?
I would just thank you, Mr. Khan, for providing this for us. I looked all through it, and I appreciate the thoroughness and the explanation, so thank you.
Our pleasure.
All right, any questions, comments from the audience? None seen. Thank you, Mr. Khan. Ms. Katowski, you are the next report item. This will be Social Studies Framework. And we tabled the subject last time, so we have you this time.
We appreciate coming at 9 o'clock rather than 10:50. So thank you for tabling that. That sounded right.
If you don't mind, I think I'm stand.
President Heverly, members of the board, and Dr. Washer, I have Charles Taylor here. He is our instructional coach in technology, but he's filling in and helping me with the social studies adoption and framework for social studies this year, started last year into this year. So this is Mr. Taylor, Charles Taylor, and he'll be doing a presentation with me tonight. So we're going to start a little bit about the framework for the social studies, and we promise that I think we still have another presentation to do after us. So we promise not to talk long, Charles. Remember, I know this is your favorite passionate thing, but we're going to be short and to the point. So actually, it's a very large document. The framework has now become so large that they won't print a document for us. It's only accessible online from now on. And so on our PowerPoint, you'll see the little box down below that is a link to the framework. If you would like to look at it, it's 2 4-inch binders if you should want to print it, but the state won't do that for us anymore. So it's larger, it has expanded sections, it's organized by grade level, and it provides vignettes in each grade level for teachers to see. And the appendices are a new factor that we'll be talking about later on in the presentation. So We want to talk a little bit about one of the, to kind of go along with Common Core, the social science framework is really talking about an inquiry approach, not remembering distinct facts and figures, but inquiring, asking significant questions, investigating, reflecting, and improving your thought processes about history and social science. So we're talking about those for history, economics, geography, and civics in each grade level, each grade level as they go up through the progression of skill grades. As I said earlier, the connection, there are standards connections to the ELA standards, and they are explicit connections in the framework. The same with the ELD standards. There are explicit connections to the ELD standards in the framework, and the C3s, as some people would like to call it, College Career and Civic Life Framework, which is the national framework for social science, is the framework for our California framework. So our California framework is based upon this framework. So you probably have seen this little graph before because it really comes from the ELA framework, but it applies also to the social science framework and the ELA and the ELD. It's basically aligning all of our the skills in the ELA and the skills in the social science framework haven't changed. What has changed is that we have made it a slimmer in depth, but we want it to be more in an inquiry approach and thinking for students and processing knowledge. So we're not asking them to recite memorization, but we have the same terminologies across all three frameworks. So here are some of the changes that you'll see in the new framework. We're talking about attention to, throughout the framework, starting in kindergarten, you'll see that there will be attention to contributions of the LGBT community, but not just specifically the community, but all of our community, all of the stakeholders will have representation. It will be specifically brought to the attention at grade 2nd and 7th. It will, as all new adoptions, bring us to the current. So we will get to President Obama in our discussions and not be back at, our presidents from 10 years ago. President Obama will be in our discussions of our books. We are moving some information, India, from grade 6 into grade 7 and not taking anything out of grade 7, so that will cause a little bit of stress for our 7th grade social science teachers because we're going to have to figure out how we're going to deal with adding information to that grade level and not removing anything. And we are encouraged to create additional courses of studies for our high school students, elective students, and we're going to talk a little bit later about an ethnic studies class that we will be asked to create by the year. I believe it's 2020, but I can't remember right now. So I think this is my last slide, correct? Is that the last one with the L? So one of the things that we always like to talk about is access and equity. There is a chapter on that, and remembering that equal isn't equitable. So if you look at the little picture right there, everybody has that equal box, but that's not really equitable for all students. Some students can't see over that fence. So what makes it equitable for everybody to receive the same? And we're going to be talking about how do we meet the English language learners and the special needs school students with making it equitable for them. That the framework is discussing equity in their chapters and how we can help our students in special needs and the English learners specifically.
So to address some of the needs of the amount of information, the new framework's taken on a thematic approach. So you see there, those are the 4 areas that will be covered from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. Students starting in kindergarten will talk about government and citizenship, economics, geography, and then discrete history. The idea being that students are building skills as they go along. So example, a senior in high school normally would only have a semester of government and economics. With a new framework, that student still has a semester of government economics, but it's built upon 12 years of skills and work in those same subjects. So the thematic approach is the idea is an ability to cover a lot of material in a shorter amount of time. A lot of stuff will stay the same. There is no change to the California history requirements. Also, the standards that we as history teachers have been using since 1998 will still be incorporated in that. There are appendices that teachers will be able to go back to, but those are not just discrete facts. Those will be the areas that we can focus on, and the framework is how we get to those facts. Kindergarten through 12th grade, the main focus is on instructional practices, like we talked about the thematic approach, analysis skills, disciplinary thinking. At the same time that we're studying history, we're also reinforcing literacy skills and investigative skills that they're learning in their science classes, their English classes, and their math classes. So writing, reading, and research, as well as verbal communication, especially for our English learners. Grades 6 and 7, this is where we had a lot of discussion on some of the changes. It's too much to cover as a consistent complaint. It's also the consistent challenge we're trying to address. We're going to have to talk about more topics in less amount of time. The framework comes across with a comparative analysis way of attacking the subjects. They also have 2 chapters that will deal with that, so it's giving those teachers in 6 and 7 more support in order to cover the material.
I want to mention here that when we're in the framework, when we're talking middle schools, it's just like everything else. The new Common Core standards, middle school, they consider 6, 7, and 8 to be middle school. So that can have a bearing on what type of materials we will purchase, because we have our schools K6 and our middle schools are 7, 8.
Another point that often comes up, especially in middle school and again in 10th grade, is the treatment of world religions. The framework does a really good job about allaying some of the fears about that, as well as talking about how teachers can tackle sensitive topics like world religions. It is very clear that teachers and schools should not be taking part in simulations. It's also very consistent over all religions. If you're going to talk about them, you're going to talk about all of them and their impacts on history. There is some overlap between 6 and 7 on early Christianity, but again, it's done from a factual perspective. No proselytizing, no engaging in reenactments of Mass or Stations of the Cross or things like that. 8 is still U.S. history, but we're getting away from what, and we're spending a lot more time on how. So you see some of those are the guiding questions directly out of the chapter dealing with 8th grade U.S. history. Why was there American Revolution? It's not just who fought where and when, but it's really trying to get kids, by this point, to dig deeper and using their skills in inquiry. Chapter 9. Grade 9 is the elective courses. This is a really exciting part. A lot of our teachers have gotten really excited about this because this is an opportunity for us to champion history as an elective. The framework does have 12 suggested courses that can be designed for schools. Also, descriptions on modern California history, which we have not had, as well as ethnic study courses. There are new guidelines for creating social studies classes. We are actually in the process of starting some exploratory work on what an ethnic studies class would look like for Lodi Unified at the high school level. 10 and 11, again, is not changing a lot as far as content, but it is changing in how it's tackled. So the stressing is on collaborative learning, as well as digging deep into primary and secondary sources. Grades 12, again, it's the semester of American government and economics, but moving forward, these students will have a wealth of skills to bring to the table. It also spends a lot of time on stressing the idea of being an active citizen, so how to take part in government. Now again, the new framework, by the time a student starts in kindergarten and gets to 12th grade, they've got that government learning, so they understand local government all the way to national and world politics. Teacher support, chapters 19 to 22 deal with various areas where teachers will be supported. Assessment of proficiency, how to build assessments, as well as dealing with access and equity, instructional strategies, and then professional learning, where to go for digging deeper into the framework. So far, what's gone on so far? March of last year, the framework was put forth to the State Board of Education. It was officially adopted in June. Last July in 2016, all of our secondary teachers, and in this case, secondary means 7 to 12. So they were all trained on the new framework in a very loose way. They got a chance to dive into their own grade level collaboratively, and then how to talk between high school and middle school about some of the challenges, and then started to outline some things that we can do to help support them and things that they would see as a need in the future. Also, a teacher committee was put together to analyze the framework and get ready for our new adoption. This is the committee that was put together last year. This is called the pre-rollout committee. We had pretty good representation from secondary. We had some excellent elementary teachers as well that pitched in. These teachers will then become the core of the new adoption committee that's starting within a few months. So their jobs were to dive deeper into the framework. They broke down each grade's essential questions, looked at what the inquiry was based on. They highlighted the essential skills and what those would look like. So what does a reading and primary source look like in kindergarten versus high school? They also looked at the changes and the possible challenges ahead of time, so make sure that we can get as far out ahead of that as possible and head off any problems. We also started to begin to outline a community outreach presentation to make sure all stakeholders were aware of the changes, as well as bring some of those changes, making sure that our parents and our guardians and our community members understand what's happening in the classroom. This is the adoption. So as of now, we can kind of jump down to July. The state reviewers have went over the materials. They have put forth their recommendation. We're currently waiting for the state board to take action on the recommendations and put out their list. That should happen early in November. Once that's up, then publishers can be contacted and we can start to see actual curriculum. Our committee does know, and they've been active viewers of the website. All of the materials that have been up for review are on the website, and they're available to either access or at least get a little more information on. We're currently collecting more applications for our adoption committee. Our goal is to get 2 representatives from each school. We are probably within the next 3 weeks, we should have all of those filled. The next step then will be in October. We'll have our first committee meeting, as well as start planning our community outreaches. Adoption committee will review the materials, then that recommendation will go in front of the curriculum council, and then you, the board. Any questions, comments, thoughts, ideas?
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to speak to this as a former 6th grade teacher here in our system, where 6th grade is not part of the middle school, and also a 6th grade teacher at a Title I school. It is hard sometimes for our teachers at in Title I schools and low-performing schools to fit in both science and social studies. And it's a shame because, first of all, social studies is one of the most fun things to teach, so it's kind of a break for you. And the second thing is that the kids love it. But again, I look at your slides here, and I'm sure your slides come from the state or something like that, but we've got one slide on and actually it doesn't even cover, I think it's slide 11. It says kindergarten through grade 12, and then automatically it jumps to middle school. So we're not talking about that. Does the framework cover?
Yes. The reason why, okay, so full disclosure, I have a 98 slide presentation for you. You're more than welcome to. We also have a meeting.
Sign him up. He'd like to meet tomorrow at 6 a.m.
So here's the deal. You guys are always welcome. We're having, we're going to have our first meeting in, sorry.
Be formal.
All right. So we are, as soon as we get our dates for our meetings, the idea behind that slide was just to illustrate the idea that all of those skills are the same.
Okay,
So
it's kind of, it's a look at how it actually happens, though. And many times, I mean, I've had to make the decision, whether I'm going to teach math, because they didn't get the concept that I introduced today, so it takes a little bit longer.
Right.
So I am going to continue to teach math, make sure they get that concept, or am I going to spend the time on social studies? Well,
which is a constant problem that we've had.
Yes.
And our teachers are saying that.
Yeah.
As a teacher, as a 7th grade social studies teacher, I have about 1,500 years of history. So it's a constant battle of what I have to cut away to get to the meat.
That's
the
exactly
idea
right.
behind the new framework, though, is that it is pushing an integrated model. So where those teachers are teaching in say, kindergarten, they're teaching literacy skills, they're teaching social skills. The literacy skills are taught through history.
Right.
And our current journeys has things in place to help that. We also have an integrated lesson study professional development committee in place.
Hold on, time out.
Yes.
Michelle? Did I see the head going back and forth? You want to comment on that?
At the appropriate time.
At the appropriate time, okay. Here's the deal, I mean, seriously, and that's fantastic, and I am so happy that that's gonna happen. But in middle school and on up, you got a class, and you teach social studies.
Right.
But that's not the way it happens in the grade schools. So what I wanted to bring up is I would love to see us really try hard to integrate our English language arts, which would work fantastic with social studies. So we need to get stories that the kids can read that reflect what they should be learning in social studies. So you're getting a two-for out of it. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to show our people how to do it. We've got to give them the materials to do it. We've got to really, try to make that happen. It's one thing for us to sit here and talk about it. It's another thing for it to happen in the classroom. When I went through teacher training, they told us all about, I think they called it spider webbing. You try to get everything to go together. And then I got into the classroom and I never heard it again. I did what I could, but we need the district to provide the materials to our teachers so that they can actually do it.
And part of what I think Charles was trying to explain is that this current year and even some of last year, the history, social science, this NGSS science, and ELA, they have had after-school workshops where they are working with teachers to do exactly that, how to do that. And so they have a group of teachers that they have been meeting with and inviting anybody that wants to come to do that, because we recognize that as a big problem.
Right.
And so we're trying to make those connections, just like you're asking.
And the group that will be part of adoption, part of the idea of having, and from in our conversations with them, is when the new framework is officially rolled out to our teachers and when the adoption comes, that the teachers will be involved in how that rollout looks, as well as what supports they need. So what we've heard from all of our elementary school teachers is there's not enough time in the day. And that's where we as a district and as secondary teachers can help and find ways that we can help shore up those times.
Okay. I just want to make sure that happens. I'll be looking at that really hard when it comes out. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I just thank you for the presentation. I just want to acknowledge it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Charles. You were Teacher of the Year. What year?
Yeah, honestly, a while back.
Oh no, you were, right? Yes, because I remember attending a function and I saw you there. Good. I'm glad you got some good people here. But anyway, I'm very pleased with the framework, and you got an itinerary there that you're going to go and present it to State Board of Education, and it's on its way.
Where exactly did all this come from?
The
The framework, the whole change.
It's state adopted it.
Pardon me?
State Department of Education.
Okay, because at the beginning you said something about it's kind of a national thing, and then California kind of took that and morphed it a touch. Is that where?
No, sort of.
I said that.
It's when the Common Core was adopted, the California Common Core was adopted from the National Common Core. So when that was rolled out, there was a look at doing like NGSS as well as the C3 framework. And the C3 framework is a national history framework that was put out there so that states could look at a common core history framework that they could then build upon. So what our state Board of Education did was look at the national framework, looked at what the other states were doing, and found where ours was lacking, and then added from the national. And then where ours was great, we didn't mess around with it.
Okay, yeah, and I guess my next question is, you know, everything's all about data and whatever. How do we know this is better?
As opposed
to kind of what we're doing right now. I mean, this all sounds really great. I'm an operational person. I want to know, kind of like what George says, is how do we make this happen effectively for the students? Because that's where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
We have to make sure that whatever all this is, or whatever all that is, or whatever the change is going to be, that it's actually better and that it's doable for the people in the trenches to actually deliver it to the kids. Is anybody already doing it so we can say, aha, it's working? Or is it just all theory now?
You mean, is anybody doing it in our state, or?
Sure, yeah.
No, because the framework's just been adopted. So
we have no data that this is better?
No, but we haven't changed our history framework since 1998. And so the way we tackle things, what we've learned about and seeing the improvements in literacy over the last 10 years, the idea is if it's good in literacy, and we've seen positive movement in language arts with ELD, then using those same skills and reinforcing those skills in other subject areas, using the tried and true methods that are proven, then that right now can't do any harm, and it has a lot of potential for forward movement. So until we get curriculum and until we start putting it, we won't actually have any hard data. But anecdotally, if you look at what's going on in social studies, nothing in the framework is revolutionary. Good social studies teachers, we're doing this every day. So those elementary teachers that are reinforcing language skills in math and reinforcing language skills in English and science and making time when they can, which is amazing that they do that, they're seeing more growth in their students than those teachers that aren't. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And I got to tell you,
I don't have numbers.
I'm not being critical of
No,
you, the
totally
presentation,
understand.
none of that. I love history. I mean, if I had a chance to sit down and watch TV, it's probably going to be a history or a science show, because those are what I enjoy. I mean, I love history. And I just want to make sure that not we as the district, but we as adults aren't screwing it up for the kids. You know,
Let me give you an example.
Interesting. It's good stuff.
Let me give you an example from the framework. The 12th grade economics piece of this is more focused on financial literacy than social studies has in the past, especially in the terms of economics. It's usually been the macro and the global. There is a strand in this that addresses that gap that kids have been telling us for a long time, that we're not teaching them financial literacy skills, that they're leaving us without knowing how to do basic skills that they need in life. This certainly doesn't take the place of a full class of financial literacy, but it addresses a piece of that. So in that regard, that shows that it is an improvement in what has been in the past.
Right, and I think it's already been addressed several times, is that when you add that strand, which I think is critical for our kids, is understanding finances. Why are we teaching economics if they don't know how to real world do it? But the problem is that when you add that, you only still have this little box of time. So, like you guys are saying, something has to kind of like click off.
Except in this case, though, when you look at the and this is a hard thing to do because as a seventh, and I taught seventh all the way through seniors, a lot of times we only see it from one aspect. As a senior teacher, I only see 12th grade. And what I think the goal of the new framework is, and this is why it's broken up into 6, 8, 9, 12, and then K-5, is that part of the framework was written so that a teacher goes in and reads a chapter and understands the scope of their entire grade span. So as Dr. Washer was saying, as a senior in high school going through economics class, having that financial literacy, that's already built on 11 other years of students engaged in the discussion of economics, talking about how money is, talking about how economics run and how it can rise and fall, a country can rise and fall through economics. So yes, it's this amount of time when you're only considering the 12th grade, but then when you look at the course of the entire student's education, they're getting a lot more than they ever have before.
No doubt, no doubt. But like we said, there's still that time element. Enough of that. So, what is this going to cost us as a district?
Well, since we
And the
don't,
state's going to help, correct?
well, our LCFF funds are gonna
How about
help.
that? We'll figure.
So,
Because
since
it's going to
we-
be a big change.
yeah, each adoption that we have done, since math and
Yeah.
English language arts, I haven't seen any of the materials yet. I have a strong suspicion that there will be a strong technology component to it. And so some of that it's going to be probably in the same ballpark as our English language arts adoptions across the board. It's going to be a couple of $1 million, if not more, maybe $4 million. It's hard to tell until we see product. And
Yeah,
we won't
absolutely.
know that until.
Speaking of that, when is that, do they have a timeline we're thinking that's going to be available? Because when we made the math adoption, they didn't even have a Math 3 textbook.
So here in November, the list of the approved materials should be approved by the State Board of Education.
There we go.
So in November.
It sounds like they're doing a little bit better than the
Right.
math one.
And then our anticipation is that we will have a materials fair, because you're gonna have a big list of potential people that wanna sell, and narrow that down to things that our teachers are really interested in, that meet the needs of Lodi Unified. And then they'll work with it through the spring, and we'll come back to you sometime in March, early enough that we can purchase them and get them delivered to the school by the time school starts in July.
And just so you know, my list of questions is more, I want it to work well.
Yes, we understand.
And because, like I said, I love history. It's exciting, it's interesting, it's kind of where we came from and gives you a basis of, whatever. But, so anyway, that's what, for me, what I'm looking at is I want to make sure that we're doing it well for the sake of the kids, getting something that's going to really be beneficial to them. That's it. That's the bottom line for me. Any other board members?
Yes,
Yes,
a
please.
history geek.
I'm with you.
Okay, so you have to excuse me, but I mean, I am 100% history geek. Always have been, always will be, taught it for years. I love this and it's gonna work. It is gonna work. I have to grumble just a bit. I have been so angry that both STEM and STEAM, where's the social studies in that? I think that's so insulting. In my humble opinion, probably not shared by most people, I consider social studies the most important subject in the world. And this is going to work. I'm going to give you an example. How many of you had to build admissions in 4th grade, right?
Yeah.
And that's really, like, that happened in a vacuum. 4th grade, you learned only time in your entire public education, you learned California history. And what did you learn? The parents agonized over, we now have to build the damn mission. And that was it. This is thematic, and Charles, you and Lisa both, like, it starts in kindergarten. It's thematic. It weaves its way through just as it weaves its way through life. Absolutely. This is going to work. And I love, like, it has terms like broadly literate, hurrah, citizenship, civics. We're back to that. That needs to be intertwined in every subject that's ever taught from preschool on through. So yeah, it's going to be, it's of course, it's going to fall to the teachers to, to adapt to this. It is different, that's for sure, but it makes perfect sense in a million and one ways. So thank you for this report, and maybe someday we'll figure out a way to weave that into this acronym STEM, STEAM, meets social studies in there. Thank you.
Well, to answer that, actually, a lot of this stuff with STEAM, certain groups that are doing it are actually pulling in the social sciences to it. And I thought, oh, that's pretty cool, because it's not this in a vacuum. It's how did we get here? And you go, but it's awesome. So
And
it
that
works.
needs to continue.
Yes, absolutely.
And this allows for that.
Any other questions from the board? Oh, I just lost my chair. And the public, anyone? Oh, here we go.
I'm Mike, Miss Castle, a social studies geek. Having been trained at Williamsburg and Mount Vernon, I love history. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you talked about thematic. And I think that's the takeaway maybe from tonight's conversation is, as I looked at this last slide with what to do next, or where do we go from here, collecting the application information, set up the curriculum. What I didn't see that I think yes. Boy, it looks so different on my phone. I would be remiss by, I don't know how many teachers, if I didn't say this, piloting of materials before we purchase. So that, I think, we need to kind of configure in there. And I heard that again at the curriculum council meeting that I went to. So throwing that out there. I think teachers are for integration of materials. And my head was nodding as Mr. Neely pointed out about integrating journeys and social studies. It's not comprehensive in pulling out those materials. So my question, I guess going forward is, are we going to be giving teachers the professional label that they make the decisions on how they teach social studies, say reading and math? I know in 5th grade, part of social studies was reading a map, doing your coordinates. If you were to sail a ship, where would it go if the trade winds are blowing this way? There was math involved in all of that. Looking at bar graphs and interpreting the data. So as we address those standards, thematically through social studies or through science, the problem that is getting in the way of this is our specific adopted curriculum pacing guide benchmarks that every kid has to take this at this time. So if you're doing integration, and I think some of you have seen it, those kind of get in the way. So I think that might be something when we talk about shoring up for elementary specifically, and how do we support elementary teachers with social studies? Yes, they have been left on the shelf because teachers, and as teachers are posting tonight, and the HMH is not trying to upload and download, and teachers have already conferences starting tomorrow, and they don't have the report card ability to print yet. So I think we need to be asking a lot about how we will support teachers in their integration of these standards going forward. And will they be given that professional judgment to make those decisions of whether or not I have to teach this vocabulary strand in order for my students to pass the ELA test. So just kind of questions, and as we go forward, as I heard from you and Mr. Taylor, how are we going to support elementary teachers? And I think I heard a little bit of those 6th grade teachers do feel kind of in limbo, and as they did with the math, they are in many ways a deserted island. So they have a shore all around them, so what we need is to build a bridge over to them so they can connect with those other 7th and 8th middle school areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Board, any others? Thank you very much for your report. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck. Keep us posted.
We'll be back.
Well, I'm sure. It's good to hear you have a good committee going.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Excuse me. Mr. Khan was thinking, and with Mr. Neely, that this next item might work well with our special ed study session. So the thought is maybe, with the board's concurrence, that we could table this and bring it up at that study session. Any comments?
Mr. Khan, you could do this presentation in 5 minutes, couldn't you?
Less.
Oh.
Go for it.
Let's go for it.
I'm excited still. I mean, we're talking restricted and unrestricted funds, and that's what we're going to be talking about next week.
Well, I kind of heard the majority go, so we'll let you go for it. It's only a couple of pages, so.
Just one page, and it's all pictures, so, and it is
Special ed.
October 24th.
October.
Oh, I was thinking it was next week.
It's the 24th of October, sir.
All right.
We could have one the 31st of September if you like.
Okay, please.
Michael, can you get the
Mr. Khan,
chart
go
up?
ahead.
Well, this is truly a fortuitous moment for me because this is my penultimate report of the year. As you can see by the chart, the revenues are green, the reds are expenditures. On the left-hand side of the chart, black is unrestricted ending balance. And on the right-hand side of the chart, the black represents the restricted operating deficit, which is now at its historic lows over the last 5 years and about a third of the way to a negative $50 million number. The blue line is what I'd like to point your attention to. That is our net contribution into restricted funds. That number is now above 40 million. It has doubled in a little over 4 years. For a number, about 3/4 of that blue line is special ed. The remainder is routine restricted maintenance. I don't expect any immediate reduction in the routine restricted maintenance, although at some point the Measure U construction should start to alleviate the necessity to spend money there. I'll just point out quickly and then take questions that on restricted revenue, that is in essence flatlined over 4 years. And in fact, budget to budget, it's actually projected we will receive less restricted revenue in the current school year than we did 4 years ago. Nonetheless, expenditures have continued unabated. Dr. Washer is addressing this issue and has cabinet moving ahead on this, even to the point that Ms. Vedeka has us going at 8:30 tomorrow morning after a board meeting night. But we'll be there tomorrow, but I'd be happy to take any questions. And we'll repeat this chart every accounting period, or every financial statement period as well.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Mr. Khan.
Thank you, Mr. Khan.
Members of the audience? Okay, none seen. Thank you very much. All right, last report item is one-time money report. Mr. Khan.
And this, of course, is my ultimate.
Yes.
This is aggregate of our department's requests for possible uses for one-time monies. I can go into any line item specifically if the board would like. However, I will note under Ed Services, the 12 carts with 36 Chromebooks each have been requested by high school principals for their non-core classes, the visual arts, performing arts, driver's ed, that type of thing. That expenditure has been approved by cabinet. We are also beginning to move forward on a few other things at this time, but we'll provide more information at a later point. I would like to begin moving forward on this the purchase of 8 7-passenger vans to alleviate some of this athletic transportation issue that we've been talking about this year. At some point, maybe we need 12, but 8 should come in right around $240,000. That's about $26,000 per van on the state bid, and then additional GPS and technology add-ons, plus the 10% delivery add-on that we all pay when we buy a car. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Just on the vans, 7 passengers, then you don't need any special licensing to drive them.
That's correct. So
But
it's
if we
actually,
went
I'm
fif-
sorry.
I think if we went higher, like 15, I think you do.
I believe it starts at, it's either 9 or 10. So the 7-passenger vans has a driver, that makes 8. And I think Carlos was saying anything above that, then
You have to
you
have
actually need the bus driver's license.
Because I remember on a field trip, I was considered a district employee and I had the licensing, otherwise it could have gone.
Yeah, even.
And I wanted to make sure we're not going down that road because then
No.
that gets really, okay, very good.
Even if you buy the big vans, most districts will remove one of the seats so that it can't be argued that it's.
And those are going to be housed,
Well, that's what we're working on. We know that the sites are requesting that they be housed at their sites. We know at Lodi, we believe we have a safe place to place them. Mr. Heavily, you and I walked in that garage sort of area in the Millis Gym. But we're actually looking at it at other sites as well. But all the principals have requested that they have the sites or the vans located at their sites.
so is this the 4.2, is that, how much money?
There's 3.991 million in expected receipts. Right now, the request total 4.2 million.
Yeah, got it.
And more are coming.
Yeah, of course. Questions, comments from board members?
Get the vans.
Okay. Audience, any questions, comments?
What's this Discovery delivery truck?
Purchasing and warehouse is, their delivery truck is on its last legs.
I see a little pricey.
It could be, it's just a number right now. It's not an actual dollar amount. We've done a little more work on the 8 7-passenger vans. We've done no work at all on the delivery truck. It was just a guess.
Oh, so it's not a tow truck, it's a...
No, it's a big box van.
It's like a bread truck.
Oh, UPS truck.
Yeah.
And it may be that when we receive this number as an estimate, that they actually included maybe refrigeration in it in case they needed to move things around as well.
And just below that, the furniture, is that student furniture or what?
That's all the furniture in the warehouse, so virtually all of the student furniture has been placed at sites. We don't have any additional requests for furniture at the moment, but we also do not have any extra inventory to send out if we were to receive equipment.
Okay, and then the last question I have is on the special ed for 1 million. What is that? Staffing request?
Additional staffing is correct.
Okay.
It's being
Any other
worked
questions?
on.
Okay, all right, one-time monies, any no comments? All right, that one is done. Are there any board advisory committee reports? None. Future agenda, we do have Ms. Castles. Any others?
We adjourn.
Done. We do not go to closed session. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Good night.
Good night, Irene.
Me either.
Veterans Day. You gonna stay there?